90s, country towns were starting to battle, and the Kulin Shire Council, being so proactive, wanted to develop something that was a unique concept to attract people to come to Kulin, and the bush races was one of the things that were born out of that. Early bush races were a very small event. It's turned from a 2-day event into a week-long event as people come here and camp early and enjoy the ambience of this area. Some of our locals wanted to promote the Kulin bush races, and they thought an ideal way would be to have tin horses along the highway.
The first tin horse would have been made probably in about 1998. I had a next door neighbour, Mary Lakese. She was quite keen for somebody to produce a tin horse.
It all started from a fishing trip. We went down the south fishing trip. We come home on the Holt Rock Road and we found this Marboss as a horse.
So one bloke sat on there and he sat back, leaned against the tail like that, flat in his back.
And someone took some photos of it and he ended up coming home and yeah, my wife saw it, Mary, and she said, oh, it's a good idea to make a few tin horses.
But that's where it all started from, out there.
So came up with the idea of making one out of using star pickets and using the metal frame with wire all around it and then putting hessian on it. Once that got up there, it got the interest of other people, and before long we had other horses come up. The Lakeses created one and it just progressively grew over the years. There's lots of different stories and everyone would go into their sheds and create and think what they were going to build. It would all be very secretive until it just appeared on the highway.
The first horse I made was pretty basic. It was just a horse doing a handstand on the dam bank. I started making tin horses from a young age, mainly just to learn how to weld and to promote our once-a-year community event, the Kulin Bush Races. Probably the favourite one that I made was with a couple of mates. We did the fox shooting one. It was just good to get together with a few mates and create it together.
When we go and start a horse, you always come out here, have a look at what you can find. You always got to find a 44 or a 4-gallon tin, which is a 20-litre tin, and then you just start adding welding things on and tech screw, weld, silicon, whatever you want to do. You just make a tin sculpture that looks like a horse. Behind every horse there's a story. A couple of years ago we got a phone call from our neighbour saying there's a car on its side down the road there, so we got in the loader and that and went down to investigate, and it was a local sergeant and his boss, which was quite funny at the time. So he made a horse and just put a cop lane on it and dropped 10, saves lives.
Been here for 38 years, farming with my wife, Peter, and between all us West Kulin people, we've built this big West Kulin whopper here to introduce people coming to the bush races, because those East Enders could only build little ones, so we decided to build a big one. And it is the best horse on the highway.
I'd like to see it going out all 4 entrances to Kulin, so that we had this sort of highway going all the way through. So no, it's a fabulous, fabulous thing.
Even in Brunswick, we get people, have you been out to Kulin? No. And then we tell them about the highway and then they've gone and then they've passed the word on to somebody else. It's snowballed.
We like the Tin Horse Highway because on a long road trip it's fun to spot out all the new horses.
I think the Tin Horse Highway for Kulin is fantastic, mainly for the visitors. We're always seeing caravans stop, and it's just a bit of an iconic thing now, I think, for Kulin.
I think it's wonderful for the community. It's such a tourism pull, and people, like, I've moved to Perth, I've been in Perth for a couple of years now, and when I always make mention that I'm from Kulin, and so many people say, bush races, Tin Horse Highway, and it has such a name now, which is just wonderful.